Under a twin sun on the vibrant planet of Kepler 442b, Dr. Marcus Chen finds himself face to face with an ancient alien child who speaks perfect English and remembers humanity's every move, setting off a journey that will challenge the very meaning of love, promise, and what it means to be truly connected across the stars. The year was 2157, and Dr. Marcus Chen had seen enough of the galaxy to know that first contact situations rarely went according to protocol. Standing in the humid atmosphere of Kepler 442b, watching his xenobiology team set up their research equipment under twin purple suns, he couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching them from the bioluminescent forest. Base camp. This is Chen. We've confirmed the energy signatures are artificial. There's definitely intelligent life down here. Marcus spoke into his communicator, his eyes scanning the tree line where strange musical sounds seemed to emanate from the very plants themselves. Sarah Martinez, the team's linguist, approached, with her tablet displaying wave patterns that made her frown in concentration. Marcus, you need to see this. The electromagnetic patterns we're picking up, they're not random, there's structure almost like a lullaby. Before we go any further, comment where in the world you are watching from and make sure to subscribe, because tomorrow's story is one you don't want to miss. Before Marcus could respond, the underbrush rustled with a sound too deliberate to be wind. The team froze, hands moving instinctively toward their sidearms. What emerged from the glowing foliage wasn't the hostile alien they'd been trained to expect, but something that made Marcus's heart skip a beat. She was small, no bigger than a human child of perhaps 8 years old, with skin that shimmered like opal in the alien twilight. Her large violet eyes held an intelligence that seemed ancient despite her obvious youth. Most remarkably, she approached them without fear, her delicate three-fingered hands extended in what could only be described as a gesture of greeting. "Hello," she said in perfect unaccented English, her voice like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "I am Zarathiel of the Luminari. I have been waiting for you to arrive." The next 3 weeks changed everything Marcus thought he knew about interspecies contact. Zara, as she preferred to be called, became their guide to understanding the Luminari, a species of energy-based beings who existed in harmony with their planet's unique electromagnetic field. She was curious about everything human, asking endless questions about Earth, about emotions, about the concept of family. "Your species bonds through what you call love," Zara observed one evening as they sat around the camp's bioluminescent lamp. Her skin pulsed with soft blues and greens, which Marcus had learned indicated contentment. "Among my people, we share consciousness directly, but your way seems warmer." Marcus found himself growing protective of the young alien. She reminded him of his niece back on Earth, precocious, fearless, and possessing a wisdom that seemed to come from somewhere beyond her years. When other team members suggested they should study her more formally, take biological samples, Marcus firmly refused. "She's not a specimen," he told Dr. Harrison, the mission's lead scientist. "She's a person, a child." It was during their final week on the planet that Zara made her confession. They were sitting by the camp's edge, watching the aurora-like displays that danced across the night sky when she turned to him with those impossibly large eyes. "Marcus, I must tell you something. I am not truly a child as your species understands it. Among the Luminari, our physical forms can change with our emotional growth. I appear young because I am young in experience, not in years." She paused, her skin flickering with what Marcus had learned was embarrassment. "I am actually 847 of your Earth years old." Marcus nearly choked on his water. 800 and... Zara, you're practically ancient. But in terms of emotional and social development, I am, as you would say, a teenager by your standards. I have never left my world, never experienced other forms of consciousness until your arrival. Her skin shifted to deeper purples, the color of contemplation. "You have shown me so much about what it means to connect with another being. About kindness, protection, friendship." The young xenobiologist felt a strange mix of emotions: protective affection, scientific fascination, and something deeper he couldn't quite name. "You've taught us a lot too, Zara, about your people, about this world." You've made this whole mission worthwhile." It was then that Zara did something that would haunt Marcus for years to come. She reached out with her delicate hand and touched his cheek, her skin warm and tingling with energy. "When I grow up, when I have experienced enough to take my adult form, I will come find you, Marcus Chen of Earth. You have shown me what it means to care for another being across species barriers. Perhaps we could explore what connection truly means between our kinds." Marcus, caught up in the emotion of their impending departure and the innocent earnestness in her voice, laughed gently and replied without thinking, "Well, if you're going to wait until you grow up, maybe I should marry you then. That's the ultimate human connection, you know." Zara's skin blazed brilliant gold, a color Marcus had never seen before. "Is that a promise, Marcus Chen?" "Sure, kid," he said, ruffling what passed for her hair, delicate fiber-optic strands that glowed softly. "When you grow up and become a proper adult luminary, come find me. I'll marry you." The next day, the human team departed Kepler 442b, leaving behind detailed notes about the luminary and recommendations for peaceful future contact. Marcus thought often of little Zara in the months that followed, but as the years passed and his career took him to other worlds, other discoveries, the memory became a fond recollection of an unusual first contact situation. He never imagined she would take his offhand comment seriously. He should have known better. The luminary, as he'd learned, were a species that never forgot a promise. 25 years had passed when the message reached Earth. Marcus, now 53 and serving as director of xenobiological studies at the Lunar Research Station, was reviewing applications for the new interspecies exchange program when his assistant handed him a priority communication marked with the luminary diplomatic seal. "Dr. Chen, this came through the official channels, but it's addressed specifically to you. The sender claims to know you from the Kepler 442b expedition." Marcus opened the holographic message, and his breath caught in his throat. The being before him was unmistakably luminary, but gone was the childlike form he remembered. This luminary stood tall and graceful, her form more defined and mature, her skin shifting through colors that spoke of complex emotions and deep intelligence. But the eyes, those large violet eyes, were unmistakably Zara's. "Hello, Marcus Chen of Earth," the message began, her voice now rich and melodious, carrying harmonics that seemed to resonate in his chest. "I am Zarathiel Mor Anthan, which, in your language, means one who has crossed the threshold of understanding. You knew me as Zara. I have grown up, as you said I should. I have experienced 847 more years of life, learned the deep magics of my people, traveled to 17 worlds, and formed connections with 43 different species." Marcus sank into his chair, his heart pounding as the implications hit him. "I have become what my people consider fully mature, emotionally, intellectually, and spiritually. I now understand the depth of what you offered me all those years ago. A promise between beings of different species, a bond that transcends the physical realm. I am ready to claim what you offered, Marcus Chen. I am coming to Earth to marry you, as you promised when I was young." The message continued, explaining that she would arrive within the month as part of a formal diplomatic mission, but that her true purpose was to honor the commitment he had made. She spoke of how his kindness had shaped her understanding of interspecies relationships, how his protection had taught her about trust, and how his casual promise had become the foundation of her adult emotional development. Marcus stared at the message long after it ended, his mind reeling. How could he explain to an alien being that his proposal had been a throwaway comment made to what he thought was a child? How could he tell her that humans didn't typically honor casual remarks made decades ago? But as he thought about it more, he remembered the luminaries' commitment to their word, their deep respect for emotional bonds, and the earnest way young Zara had asked if it was a promise. He had said yes. He had given his word to a being whose entire species viewed promises as sacred, unbreakable bonds. Dr. Sarah Martinez, now the head of the Interspecies Communication Department, found him 3 hours later, still staring at the frozen hologram. "Marcus, You look like you've seen a ghost. What's wrong? Sarah, do you remember Zara? The young luminary from our first mission to Kepler 442b? Of course. Sweet kid. Very bright. Why? Marcus turned the hologram toward her. She grew up and she's coming to Earth to marry me. Sarah's eyes widened as she processed the implications. Oh, Marcus, what did you do? I made a promise to an alien child without understanding what I was promising. And now I have to figure out how to honor it without destroying interspecies relations or breaking the heart of someone I actually care about. The next 3 weeks were a whirlwind of diplomatic preparations, cultural briefings, and personal soul-searching. Marcus found himself studying every available text on Luminari culture, their bonding rituals, their understanding of commitment and marriage. What he discovered both terrified and amazed him. To the Luminari, a promise of bonding wasn't just a social contract. It was a spiritual merging of consciousness, a permanent sharing of emotional energy that lasted until one partner's life force dimmed. It was irreversible, profound, and considered the highest honor one being could bestow upon another. Marcus, you need to understand what you're facing, explained Dr. Yuki Tanaka, Earth's leading expert on luminary psychology. When Zara asks you to honor your promise, she's not asking for a human marriage. She's asking you to become permanently linked to her consciousness. Your emotions, your thoughts, your very life force will be intertwined with hers. Is that even possible between humans and Luminari? We don't know. It's never been attempted. The Luminari have only bonded with 3 other species in their recorded history, and all of them were energy-based beings like themselves. You would be the first biological entity to attempt such a connection. Marcus spent sleepless nights considering his options. He could explain to Zara that his promise had been misunderstood, that human customs were different. But he remembered the earnest trust in her young eyes, the way she had touched his cheek with such gentle affection. He remembered how she had waited 25 years, growing and learning, preparing herself for a promise she believed he had made in good faith. More troubling was his growing realization that he wanted to see her again. In the weeks since receiving her message, he had found himself thinking about her constantly, not the child she had been, but the mature, accomplished being she had become. Her message had revealed a depth of character, an intelligence, and a devotion that moved him in ways he hadn't expected. When the Luminary diplomatic ship arrived at Luna Station, Marcus was waiting in the docking bay, wearing his formal diplomatic uniform and carrying a bouquet of earth flowers, a gesture he hoped would convey respect and welcome in any culture. The airlock cycled open, and she emerged. Zara had grown beautiful in ways that transcended human understanding of the word. Her form was taller now, more defined, her skin shifting through colors that seemed to paint emotions in light. Her movements held a grace that spoke of confidence and power. But when she saw Marcus, her entire being blazed with warm golden light, the same color she had shown when he'd made his promise so long ago. Marcus Chen, she said, approaching him with fluid steps. You have aged well. Your species' linear progression through time gives you a dignity that energy beings do not possess. Zara, he managed, offering the flowers. You've become extraordinary. She accepted the bouquet, her skin flickering with surprise and delight as she studied the alien blossoms. These are from your homeworld. You remembered that I was curious about Earth's plant life. I remembered a lot of things about you, Zara. They stood there for a moment, 2 beings from different worlds, separated by decades and vastly different, biologies yet connected by a thread of memory and promise that had somehow survived the passage of time. I must ask you directly, Marcus Chen, Zara said, her colors shifting to the deep purples of serious intent. Do you honor the promise you made to me 25 years ago? Will you bond with me as you said you would when I grew up? Marcus looked into those violet eyes, older now, wiser, but still holding the same curiosity and trust he remembered. He thought about everything he had learned about her species, about the magnitude of what she was asking, about the fact that he was considering saying yes to the most insane proposition of his life. Zara, I need you to understand something. When I made that promise, I didn't fully understand what it meant to your people. I need to know, do you want to bond with me? Because of the promise or because of who we are now? Her skin shifted through a complex pattern of colors. Surprise, contemplation, something that might have been vulnerability. When I was young, yes, it was about the promise. But as I grew, as I learned about other species and other forms of connection, I found myself measuring every relationship against what I remembered of our time together. Your kindness, your protection, your genuine care for my well-being, these became my standards for what a true bond should feel like. She paused, her colors settling into steady, warm gold. I do not wish to bond with you because of a promise made to a child. I wish to bond with you because in all my years and all my travels I have never encountered another being who made me feel so complete. Marcus felt his world shift on its axis. This wasn't about honoring an old promise anymore. This was about something far more complex and real. Zara, I need you to know that if we do this, it could go wrong. Humans have never attempted a luminary bonding. We don't know if it's even possible, much less what the consequences might be. I have spent years researching this possibility, she replied, her skin showing determination streaked with hope. My people's greatest mind healers believe it can be done, though the process will change us both in ways we cannot predict. You would gain some ability to sense and share emotions directly, to commune with energy-based consciousness. I would become more grounded, more tied to linear experience and biological rhythms. And if it doesn't work, then we will have tried something that no two beings have ever attempted before. We will have pushed the boundaries of what connection means between species. Her colors brightened. Is that not what your people call humanity? Fuck yeah. Marcus laughed despite himself. You've been studying human culture extensively. I find your species' tendency to attempt impossible things for the sake of love and connection to be inspiring. Over the next week, as Zara participated in formal diplomatic meetings and cultural exchanges, Marcus found himself falling for her in ways that transcended species barriers. She was brilliant, discussing quantum consciousness theory with physicists in the morning and debating philosophy with historians in the afternoon. She was curious about everything human, from music to literature to the strange human custom of cooking food before eating it. But it was the quiet moments that convinced him. When she sat with him in the observation lounge, watching Earth turn slowly beneath them, her colors shifting gently with contentment. When she listened to him talk about his work, his family, his fears about their potential bonding, her entire being focused on understanding not just his words, but the emotions behind them. Marcus, she said one evening as they sat together, I must tell you something else. Among my people there is a saying, the heart that waits grows stronger, but the heart that chooses grows wings. I have waited 25 years for you, but I do not want you to choose me out of obligation. If you bond with me, it must be because your heart has grown wings toward mine. It was then that Marcus realized the truth he had been avoiding. Somewhere in the past weeks, he had stopped thinking of Zara as the alien child he had once known, and started seeing her as the remarkable woman she had become. Her intelligence challenged him, her curiosity delighted him, and her unwavering commitment to their connection had awakened something in him he hadn't known existed. Zara, he said, taking her hand and feeling the warm tingle of her energy-based biology. I want you to know that if I agree to this bonding, it won't be to honor an old promise. It will be because, impossible as it seems, I've fallen in love with who you are now. Her skin blazed brilliant gold shot through with silver streams that he had learned indicated overwhelming joy. Then you will attempt the bonding with me? I will attempt the bonding with you. Not because I promised a child, but because I choose you, Zarathiel Moranthan. Whatever happens, whatever we become together, I choose you. The ceremony took place 3 days later in the Luna Station's specially modified cultural center. Representatives from a dozen species came to witness what many considered either the most romantic gesture in galactic history or the most reckless experiment in interspecies relations. The process itself was unlike anything in human experience. Zara's people had prepared a complex energy matrix that would allow their consciousness to safely bridge the gap between energy-based and biological awareness. Marcus would have to open his mind completely, allowing Zara's energy to merge with his neural pathways while he simultaneously reached out to touch her consciousness. "Remember," Dr. Tanaka whispered to him as they prepared, "if at any point the connection feels unstable, break contact immediately. We don't know what could happen if the bonding goes wrong." Marcus nodded, but his attention was fixed on Zara. She stood in the center of the energy matrix, her form blazing with power and anticipation, more beautiful and alien than anything he had ever seen. This was it, the moment that would either unite them in a bond beyond human comprehension or destroy them both. "Are you ready, Marcus Chen of Earth?" she asked, extending her hand toward him. "I'm ready. Zara Thielmore Anthan of the Luminari." He stepped into the matrix and took her hand. The connection was instantaneous and overwhelming. Marcus felt his consciousness expand beyond the confines of his skull, touching something vast and warm and utterly alien. He could feel Zara's emotions directly, her love, her hope, her slight fear that he might reject the depth of connection she was offering. But beneath it all was a sense of rightness, of coming home to something he hadn't known he was missing. Through their link, he felt her surprise and delight as she experienced biological existence for the first time, the steady rhythm of his heartbeat, the electrical firing of his neurons, the strange solidity of existing in linear time. She marveled at the way his emotions were tied to physical sensations, how love could make his chest tight, and happiness could make him want to laugh out loud. The bonding process lasted only minutes in real time, but within their shared consciousness, it felt like hours of gentle exploration, each of them learning to navigate the other's way of existing. When it was complete, they found themselves changed in ways both subtle and profound. Marcus could sense Zara's emotions as clearly as his own, could feel the warm presence of her consciousness like a second heartbeat in his mind. More remarkably, he could perceive energy fields he had never noticed before. The electrical patterns of the space station, the life forces of the other beings around them, the vast electromagnetic signature of the Earth below. Zara, meanwhile, had gained what she called temporal weight, a new appreciation for the linear progression of time that biological beings experienced. She found herself more grounded, more present in the immediate moment, her colors now synchronized with a steady rhythm that matched Marcus's heartbeat. "How do you feel?" Dr. Martinez asked, as the energy matrix powered down. Marcus looked at Zara, feeling her love and contentment flowing through their bond like warm sunlight. "I feel complete," he said, "like I've been half alive my whole life and didn't know it." Zara's skin shifted to gentle blues and greens, her colors now permanently touched with the golden thread that represented their connection. "I feel real," she said, "as if all my centuries of existence were preparation for this moment of true awareness." 6 months later, Marcus and Zara stood on the observation deck of the research vessel Unity, watching a new world come into view through the viewports. Their bonding had made them both famous throughout the galaxy, the first successful interspecies consciousness merger between energy-based and biological beings. But more than that, it had opened new doors for understanding between radically different forms of life. "The energy readings from this planet are extraordinary," Zara said, her excitement flowing through their bond and making Marcus smile. 3 different energy-based species sharing the same world with 2 biological civilizations. This could revolutionize our understanding of interspecies cooperation. Marcus wrapped his arm around her, still marveling at how perfectly she fit against him despite their different biologies. Through their bond he could feel her contentment, her love, and beneath it all, her endless curiosity about the universe and its infinite possibilities. "You know," he said, "when I made that promise to a little alien girl 25 years ago, I never imagined it would lead to this." Zara's skin shifted to warm gold, their bonding color. "When I was that little alien girl, I knew exactly where it would lead. I simply had to wait for you to catch up. So what you're saying is you planned this whole thing?" I prefer to think of it as optimistic patience. She leaned into him, her energy warming against his biological form. Besides, someone had to teach humanity that some promises are worth keeping, no matter how impossible they seem. As their ship approached the New World, ready to begin another chapter in the ever-expanding story of interspecies cooperation, Marcus reflected on the journey that had brought them here. A casual promise to an alien child had become the foundation for the deepest connection he had ever known. It had taken 25 years, a revolution in xenobiological science, and a leap of faith that defied all logic. But then again, that was humanity for you, taking impossible chances for the sake of love and making them work through sheer stubborn determination. Humanity, fuck yeah, he murmured, feeling Zara's delighted laughter ripple through their bond. Indeed, she agreed, her colors brightening with shared joy. Humanity, fuck yeah. 50 years after the bonding, the Marcus Chen Zarathiel Center for Interspecies Consciousness Studies had become the premier research facility in the galaxy. Hundreds of species had learned to form bonds across biological and energy-based barriers, creating a new era of understanding and cooperation among the galaxy's diverse civilizations. Marcus, now enhanced by his bond with Zara, and aging much slower than baseline humans, continued to serve as the center's director. Zara had become the galaxy's leading expert on consciousness bridging, helping other species navigate the complex process of interspecies bonding. They had proven that love could indeed transcend any barrier, biological, cultural, or even physical form. More importantly, they had shown that a promise made in good faith, no matter how impossible it seemed, was always worth keeping. Their story had become legend throughout the galaxy, inspiring countless others to reach across the vast differences between species and find connection in the most unlikely places. It was, many said, the most human thing anyone had ever done, taking an impossible situation and making it work through sheer determination, love, and an unwillingness to give up on someone who mattered. And in the quiet moments between their busy lives, when they stood together watching alien sunsets on distant worlds, Marcus and Zara would remember that little alien girl who had asked if his casual words were a promise, and the human man who had said yes without understanding what he was agreeing to. Sometimes the most important words we speak are the ones we don't realize we mean until much later. Sometimes the most impossible promises are the ones most worth keeping. Sometimes, love really can conquer all, even the barriers between species, time, and the very nature of existence itself.